Really a hard act to follow here, but I am really, really happy to be here in this beautiful and sacred place to do a couple of things. The first of which is to present the American Express Aspire Award to this year's recipient, Tyrell Anderson. The Aspire Award recognizes significant achievements of an emerging leader in preservation who has shown great potential to influence the future of the preservation movement. Tyrell has become a leading voice in his community of Gary, Indiana, where he has inspired those around him with innovative programming that encourages people to get involved in their community, activate urban spaces, and preserve their shared history. Please join me in watching this brief video honoring his efforts.
Tyrell Anderson, a U.S. Steel production coordinator and lifelong resident of Gary, Indiana, is uniquely acquainted with industry's impact on America's Rust Belt. In response to Gary's steep decline, which began in the 1960s, Anderson founded Decay Devils, a nonprofit that engages the community in advocating for the preservation of the city's built environment. Comprised of Gary-based photographers, artists, urban explorers, and volunteers, the Decay Devils use creative techniques to breathe life back into the blighted parts of the city. The group organizes community outreach efforts, such as volunteer cleanups. They activate abandoned spaces, like the Gary Union Station, with urban gardens, art projects, and community events. They partner with groups and institutions such as the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign to engage students in the revival of these spaces, and they raise funds to complete their initiatives while promoting the future restoration of vacant spaces. In 2017, Anderson was named a Knight Foundation Emerging City Champions Fellow. This program recognizes young civic innovators working to enhance public space, mobility, and civic engagement. Anderson used this funding to launch Super Size Me, interactive community workshops, family fun nights, a program that fostered an appreciation for Gary's urban environment. Residents came together to activate urban spaces by playing life-size replicas of popular board games and viewing short movies about local urban ruins, architectural styles, and how to be champions of green energy in an urban environment. Anderson's innovative programming, which aims to restore a sense of community and shared history in Gary, has inspired non-preservationists and preservationists alike to take pride in their city and its future.
Please join me in welcoming Tyrell Anderson to the stage to accept his award. American Express is proud to support preservation in many forms, from restoring iconic buildings to celebrating young leaders in the field. As a company, one of the key ways we back our communities is by helping preserve diverse, vibrant historic places and what makes them unique, whether it's a local historic site on Main Street or a national icon. As a company, we are constantly focused on reducing our environmental footprint and ensuring our businesses are operating sustainably. This commitment goes hand in hand with our focus on historic preservation. The tidal basin exemplifies the importance of addressing the big issues that face our historic places, like climate change and the cumulative impacts of millions of people wanting to experience a place in person. American Express is delighted to be the presenting sponsor of the National Trust campaign in partnership with the Trust for the National Mall to save the tidal basin in Washington, D.C. Let's go to the videotape.
The tidal basin is a place that many Americans and folks from around the world come to enjoy spring.
This is the absolute most beautiful thing to see during springtime.
This is truly America's front yard, and I'm really proud of this place. But it is painful to see it being loved to death.
The seawalls are crumbling. The seawalls in some places have even collapsed. There are cracks in the sidewalk, and in some places it's completely blocked, and you're forced into walking on the roots of the cherry trees, which means that they constantly have to be replaced.
This is our national mall. It's the place where we celebrate our democracy. It needs to be here in 100 years, and it needs to be in the best shape that it can be.
Later this month, the National Mall Tidal Basin Ideas Lab, presented by American Express, will officially launch, providing a platform for architectural and landscape design firms to address the most pressing issues facing the Tidal Basin site. With a goal toward robust public engagement and propelled by visionary philanthropic support from others, the Ideas Lab will pair private sector ingenuity with thoughtful preservation to develop a bold, ambitious, and integrated vision for one of America's most iconic public places. The Ideas competition will include input from the public, something that is vital to good preservation, which brings me to the Partners in Preservation program. As many of you know, over the last 13 years, we have distributed more than $28 million in preservation funding to over 260 historic sites through the Partners in Preservation program. The grants are driven by the public, which is encouraged each year to vote for the sites that they believe should receive a share of the funding. Today, we're about halfway through the voting period for this year's Partners in Preservation program. Short videotape.
The National Trust for Historic Preservation, National Geographic, and American Express have joined together to spotlight 20 locations rich in women's history and award millions of dollars in grants to help preserve our nation's main streets. You can help decide which communities will win. Visit voteyourmainstreet.org. Cast up to 5 votes for your favorite main streets. Enter a National Geographic sweepstakes for a chance to win. Return daily through October 29th. Share with your friends. Your votes will go a long way to helping restore the main streets of America. Visit voteyourmainstreet.org.
Okay, in recognition of the upcoming anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which we've heard about today, guaranteeing the women the right to vote, this year we are highlighting 20 sites that celebrate women in history. I had the pleasure of visiting the Denver site, the Dr. Justina Ford home, yesterday. I have to tell you, those of you that are in the Denver area, that this is a terrific place. If you haven't been there, I highly encourage you to go. It is the home of Colorado's first African-American doctor who was not able to be admitted into the American Medical Society, so was not able to practice her craft, her medicine in hospitals. So she delivered 7,000 babies in her home over the course of her career. And not only is this site a terrific site for her and celebration of her life, but is also the home of the African American West Museum, which has artifacts from African Americans and their contributions to the West here. So really encourage you to visit. And for those of you who can't visit, I really encourage you to vote for them. I'm not supposed to push one site over another, but they are right now in 11th place, and they really need your love and vote. So encourage you to participate in the campaign this year by visiting voteyourmainstreet.org, voteyourmainstreet.org. So standing here on the stage of Red Rocks, it's really impossible not to think about the power of place. The places we choose to visit, the places we choose to live, and the places we choose to preserve all matter. On behalf of American Express, thank you for the work that you do to ensure a vibrant future for all of the places that matter. And now, please welcome the CEO of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, Paul Admonson.
I'll be really brief because I think I'm the only thing standing between you and food. But before adjourning this program, I wanted to really express the National Trust and my personal deep appreciation to the American Express Foundation, but particularly to Tim McClyman for his leadership and his support for the work of the National Trust and many other organizations through their support for preservation. As Tim indicated, there are a number of specific programs. You saw the Aspire Award here today, the Partners in Preservation Program, which has provided almost $30 million in support over the years for preservation projects, and specific programs and projects such as the Tidal Basin Initiative. The support that American Express and the American Express Foundation provides is really incredible, and I just want to ask for a round of applause for Annex. I also just want to say a few words of thanks to our presenters today. They were incredible, and it may sound a little weird for an old white guy to be standing up here, but I'll say it, thank God for strong women. It's really, as Taya mentioned, the examples of women moving mountains is really something that we all have to lift up, those stories, and the National Trust is committed to lifting them up, particularly in the coming year. We've launched this new initiative with the American Express Partners in Preservation Program, but we have a lot of work to do. This is really, really important. I also just want to say a word of thanks to our dedicated conference staff for putting on really an inspiring conference. So thank you all. You all know who you are. But mostly, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming, for sharing your experiences and engaging with your colleagues here. It's been really an exciting and engaging conference. It's not quite over. There's still field sessions, and there's a candlelight tour tonight, I believe. So, please enjoy the rest of the conference. But it's been terrific, I think, and throughout the various levels of programming that we've had, I've heard really good things, and I'm very pleased about that. The work that we do is so important, and as Ruth Abram pointed out yesterday, it's truly relevant because our history helps to inform where we are today and where we are going, and that is really something we should all take pride in. And so I thank you all for your engagement and your support. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to seeing all of you next year in Miami.